Yo, 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 this is DPS Podcast. That's Damage Per Second Podcast. Back on a fine Thursday night, feeling all right. We are here and we will not charge you more. You know, now we would never do that to you for just for showing up. No, we would never charge you an exorbitant amount of money or raise the price. You know, yesterday's price, not today's price. We don't do that over here at DPS Podcast. Am I being messy? Maybe just a little bit. Anyway, glad to have you find people in the house, my sharpshooters in the house. Hope you guys are having a great week. We're gonna have a great podcast, and I hope you guys enjoy the show. That voice you heard is I'm SloMoBackSlap if you're first time here, but that voice you heard is the co-host of the podcast, Game and Forte. Forte, what is up, bro?
Yo, what is up? Shout out to the sharpshooters, man. Y'all gonna have a lot of stuff to shoot at today. It's crazy out here, bro, in these streets.
Pop, 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 pop. Oh my God!
We might need y'all to, like, when the old really plays, we might need y'all to go that just like everything else, because it's kind of crazy out here in these streets. But no, man, it's been great. Long week at work and everything, but definitely happy to be here, especially after everything that's been going on. Shout out to the Lords being out there in Tokyo. Shout out to you guys, going live at 1 a.m. over here, and I'm like, yo, bro, it's so bright over there right now, I forget you're in the future. But you know what, I just feel for them when they come home, because it's gonna be terrible. They gonna lose a whole day coming back. But that jet lag is going to be rough. Yeah. Oh yeah, they're gonna put you in a coma. But yeah, no, man, I'm good. Happy to be here, man, and happy to have this discussion. And let's see how many targets we can hit without causing any collateral damage. I don't know if it'll be possible though.
Well, I mean, let's jump right into it. What you been playing, man?
What have I been playing? Borderlands. What else have I been playing?
Really? Oh, really? Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So, have you played it more after you and I played it?
Yeah, because the couple times I jumped on, because I think only played it on Wednesday, and I played a little bit on Tuesday. So I didn't play, like, the last time we played, I think was on Friday or Saturday last week. I didn't play any of those other days. I jumped on super early this morning. I took my daughter to work, took her to school at 6:30. And then I was like, you know what? I couldn't go back to sleep. I had to be to work at 8 o'clock or 8:30. So I was like, let me jump on Borderlands. So I did a little bit of stuff this morning. And then last night, I jumped on probably for like an hour and a half. It was like, I think it was like 11:30 when I jumped on or something like that. So enjoying that. Being addicted to Hollow Knight Silk Song, because you haven't played it. So I have literally, me and my daughter are like humming the vendor music in the game. Like she calls me while she was at work one day. I mean, not work, school, because work is school pretty much. And then she starts humming the sound of one of the vendors in the game, and I started singing it back with her, and I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. We are definitely loving this game. So Hollow Knight is definitely that's been super fun, especially when you got somebody that's kind of playing it alongside of you and kind of doing their own little thing. So it's kind of fun doing that. But outside of that, it's pretty much been just waiting for Battlefield 6 to come out, which is October 10th. Looking forward to that. I was thinking about picking up Silent Hill, but I just haven't pulled the trigger on that yet. I don't even know if I am going to pull the trigger on that, because I'm thinking between Borderlands, jumping right into Battlefield, I don't know when I'll actually have the time to do it. And then, Pokemon ZA comes out in 3 weeks. So it's kind of saturated right now, but just playing those two games right now and looking forward to I will say this. I do have Hell Is Us. I did pick that up on PC. So I do have that on PC. I just haven't played it yet.
Cool. Like yourself, I have also been playing Borderlands 4. You're going to be not surprised by how much grinding I've put in.
You probably beat the game on a second character already.
Well, not that much, but I beat the game. Well, I said last week that I beat the game, but I am now max level with the Siren. So max level is 50, and then you have your specializations. I'm at specialization level, I think 34.
Nice.
With her, I'll get it, and with the Exo Soldier, I am level 21, and with the Gravatar Harlow, I'm level 25. Haven't started the big huge dude yet. I forgot what his class is called, but I haven't even started him yet. I'm just working on these other ones. I think the game right now might actually suffer from what I have noticed to be an issue with Outriders, which is there are some bugs that they weren't very obvious. They weren't like the kind of like graphical glitches or the game crashed. The game definitely did crash for a lot of people, but like there's some other bugs that have been acknowledged by Gearbox that need to be addressed. Some balancing issues, and I think I'm working on a build for all three of those characters, but it's very much a work in progress because I think that like Outriders that had some perks or skills for each class or skill tree that were supposed to work a certain way. I feel like some of these skills or perks are not working as they should be.
Right.
They're somewhat bugged. In addition to some exploits that people are doing right now that have people doing damage so strong that like your build doesn't matter. For example, you can take the bullet hose enhancement, so you get an enhancement with the bullet hose perk on it, and then take specifically an SMG, and an SMG that also has the flamethrower attachment on it, option on it. And there's an exploit where people have figured out where they could basically go back and forth between flamethrower and regular fire mode, but while holding down firing. And remember in Borderlands 2 where there was a particular gun, I just called it the Smasher, but it had a full name that just had Smasher in it. But essentially, Gearbox had created a gun that every time you reloaded it, it would cause a mini explosion in the reload.
Yeah.
And that reload, every time after you would reload, it would have a different damage level. It was a unique weapon. It wasn't a legendary weapon, but like it became, and this is what happens. Well, I partially love Gearbox for their uniqueness in weapons, but when you have so many unique weapons and so many very different combinations that can be made, you create some really overpowered. You create the opportunities for some really overpowered builds that can break the game. And so back in Borderlands 2, people were taking that Smasher thing and they somehow figured out that if you interrupted the reload animation when the explosion happens, if you time it perfectly, but instead of interrupting it by like shooting, you interrupt it by switching to another weapon, you would pass the perk of the additional damage to that other weapon. So imagine if you had like, so for example, the Infinity Pistol. That thing was balanced and designed because you would never have to reload because it's infinitely replicating one bullet. So you never have to reload. But the balance to that was that its damage was pretty pedestrian.
Right.
But if you take that with the Smasher perk, it basically broke the game, where people were taking weapons that were not intended to have that much power and had like really high fire rates or, you know, other special abilities. And now you've created a weapon that just basically like destroys raid bosses on the highest difficulty, you know, stuff like that. So it's just like that happened in Borderlands 2. And this is a similar situation with the whole combination of the SMG flamethrower with bullet hose, because what people are doing is they're just holding down fire while switching back and forth to flamethrower and regular fire for like I guess like a dozen times, and then they now have created this damage from the flamethrower in your bullets. And so I've tested it out myself, and yeah, you can just wipe bosses super easy, but I would recommend anyone that is playing Borderlands 4 and is listening to this, do not do this exploit, because it's just going to, like, if you're trying to seriously play this thing's going to get patched eventually. Like Gearbox has already acknowledged it and acknowledged they're going to deal with it, but they got too many things on their plate right now as is, and they just can't get to it quite yet. So you could enjoy this, or if you feel, you know, just waxing everything in the game is enjoyable to you, you can enjoy that for now. But like eventually, if you're up on
deal with it.
yeah, eventually, if you're up on Ultimate Vault Hunter 5 and you're destroying enemies with that, when they nerf it or fix it, because it's not really a nerf because it wasn't as intended.
The lights, the party's over.
You're going to be in a situation where you're like, I don't have a good build for this content. So I would say ignore these exploits and just work on your build. Even though whatever build you come up with might have these kind of issues as well, I feel like there's some of the perks or the skills of the Siren that aren't quite working as intended. And so, you know, it's just something to worry about with Borderlands 4. But as I said, I've been playing that. I also have been playing more Fire Emblem. I was actually playing Fire Emblem before we started the podcast, and while I took my son to swim class earlier tonight, and while I was waiting in the parking lot, I was playing some Fire Emblem on my Switch too. So been playing a lot of that. I've also been playing this game that I saw at the Xbox Tokyo Game Show. It was called Terminal Brigade. It was like a 4-player co-op game, that like co-op shooter, and it looked interesting in this trailer. And so, you know, I went, you know, they said they had the whole graphic saying day one on Game Pass. I'm like, all right, you know, I go check and it's available right now. So I said, all right, well, let me go install it on Xbox PC and give it a shot. And so I do that, and I'm playing the game, and I'm in the tutorial. And so the tutorial is like showing you how to play with all the characters. So I did the tutorial for the first character, and as I switched to the second character, the game crashed. And I was like, oh, that's odd. Okay. So, you know, it's the Xbox PC app, so I'm not super surprised about it. But then I restarted it again, and then as soon as it loaded me in, it tried to load me back into the tutorial, to complete the tutorial, and it crashes again. And long story short, I'm stuck because the game didn't even allow me to hit continue or to start new again. It just keeps trying to put me back in the tutorial, but it crashes every time. And so I uninstalled it, and then I was going to install it on Steam because it's a free-to-play game. So I don't know what the whole, it's in Game Pass. I mean, so what? It's a free-to-play game. So, you know, whatever, right? So I go to Steam to install it, and the game has got a mostly negative Steam reviews. And I'm looking at those reviews, and oh man, bro. Bugs galore everywhere, even on the Steam version. It's got all this gotcha going on in there that people weren't happy with, and even though they said the gameplay's fun, it just the issues on PC, they just went with it. So I mean, I might eventually install it on the actual Xbox console, because those are a hot commodity nowadays. I might need to go sell mine for a profit at this point, but I'll try it out over there and see how it goes. But other than that, I'm gonna start my replay of Ghost of Tsushima real soon, because I want to play through that before Yote comes out. Although I think I might end up not playing Yote at launch, and that actually, I need to add that to the list of rapid fires, because we got reviews for Ghost of Yote that came out. But other than that, that's all I've been playing. All I got. I'm looking forward to playing. Anything else you want to add, Forte, before we get started?
No, let's get it going. I'm good. You said it all.
Sounds good.
Oh,
Let's
really?
do it.
Oh, really?
President of Nintendo of America, Doug Bowser, has retired. You hear this, Forte? Did we lose Forte this quickly? Forte? I think he's so shocked that he's speechless. So yeah, Doug Bowser has retired. He is now being replaced by Devin Pritchard. I know Devin is typically a guy's name, but this is a woman, Devin Pritchard. She's a 19-year veteran of the video game industry and a long-standing member of the Nintendo of America leadership team. So, I mean, I would say Doug's stint as president of Nintendo of America was not very long, and I wouldn't say this guy, like, this is one of those corporate force out things, considering they had a replacement ready to go with this announcement. But Forza, if you were there, what are your thoughts on this? That sounds amazing. Anyway, I don't know what's going on with Forte. Forte, if you can hear me, I need you to drop out and come back in so we can hear you. My thoughts on this is that Bowser, I think Bowser did a pretty good job. Like, he's not like fully in charge. Like, the president of Nintendo of America is just kind of handling the management of things on the side of yeah, I can hear you now.
I don't know what happened with my mic. But go ahead.
Yeah, man. You also have some background like noise stuff going on. I don't know if that is coming through to the stream or not, but I know I can hear it. I don't know if it's yeah. So long story short, I think Bowser did a good job. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't call him older. I don't know how old he was. But I think I think it was definitely probably his choice to leave, considering they had a replacement with Pritchard ready to go. Typically, when it is a very impromptu thing, when someone has been fired, they don't have a replacement ready to go right away. They normally divide the duties of the studio head or the executive among other people until they find an actual replacement. And so that wasn't the case here. So I think just a choice that he made to actually leave. Hopefully it wasn't like family oriented in a negative way. Maybe he wanted to spend more time with his family, which that would be positive. But I think he likely probably had informed them that he wanted to leave before the launch of the Switch 2, because the Switch 2 just came out a few months ago and now he's leaving. So it just seemed like he probably wanted to oversee the launch of that in North America. And once that was done, he's done. Forte, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think he had a very... Shoot, he's been there since what? He's been head since, I want to say, what, 2019, 2018? If I remember correctly.
I have to double check. I think it's at least been
I'm trying to remember the last. I remember he got announced when we were still doing conferences, and I believe it was the year. It had to be 2019 because it was before COVID. So
Yeah.
So it's, at least 2019 was when he was there. But I think he's done a
It was
great
April.
job.
You're right. It was April 2019.
April. Yeah, because I remember because the conferences are always in August, and I remember
So he did 6 years. He did 6 years.
Yeah, pretty good. And I remember the first thing I remember is like, dude, they're trolling me. This dude's last name really isn't Bowser, and it is. So the allure has been lost. It's gone forever. We got another person that has I don't know, man. I do think that he probably was ready to move on or something. I mean, he basically helped one of the I think at this point still second, but it's going to probably at some point in the future become the most sold console of all time at some point in the future with the Switch. So he was there for the majority of, I mean, he was there for all of, but he was like the head of it for the majority of it. And then, usher in the new system, which is the fastest selling system of all time. You kind of really can't top a resume like that at this point. But I do agree with you. I don't think it was like you said. I don't think it was like a force out or anything. I think he was just like, listen, the plan was already put in place. The fact that they already have they have his successor already hired, ready to go. Lets me know that this was kind of something that was like thought of, way early in advance. Cause you saw like, even when it came to like other publishers or even, developers and stuff, when changes like that happen and they have to go out, it's not something that happens overnight. So, obviously, and the thing is, I guarantee he's probably taken a step back over the course of the last couple of months too. Because normally when you're already on that decline where you're saying you're leaving, you're just basically there in mind, body, and soul. It's just like when you're retiring. It's like, hey, I'm literally just here. And that person was probably already doing a lot of the legwork over the last couple of weeks.
Right. Right. Like the best way to go about it is to start delegating some of those duties. Let Pritchard shadow you, and then you start delegating some of those duties to her, so you're not like loading her up with everything that you're doing right off the rip and kind of making it difficult for her to get her feet wet or to kind of hit the ground running. You just kind of like start delegating everything to her, and to the point where it's just like, there's very few things that I'm doing at this point, and now I can just give the rest off, and I can bow out gracefully. So yeah, I mean, I think he did a good job. Shout out to him. I hope he whatever he does in the future, I hope he's successful. Yep.
You'll sit on somebody's beach. Congratulations on your successful tenure at Nintendo.
Anything else you want to say on this before we move on?
I'm gonna miss him though, because I miss Bowser. It's cool, but no, that's it.
Yeah, Devin doesn't have the same kind of gravitas as being named Bowser, which is villain of Mario. But let's keep it going. Really? Borderlands 4, which is what the gameplay you see on the Jumbotron right now, has been delayed for the Nintendo Switch 2. And not just delayed to a new date, but delayed indefinitely. Nintendo and Gearbox are canceling pre-orders for the Switch 2 for the game as of now. And so they didn't give a reason for this delay, but I would say this, like, considering everything that's kind of gone on with all the drama with Randy, with all the bugs and issues that have occurred with the performance issues of it, how it runs on high-end PCs, in addition to its unacceptable performance on consoles, can you imagine how bad that game runs on the Switch 2? So it's no surprise to me that they delayed this, because it probably was going to be abysmal, considering they didn't do any optimizations to this game on other platforms. And I mean, a lot of the stuff they got going on, like they literally have Lumen and Nanite on in this game, in a cell shaded game that doesn't really need Lumen or Nanite. It's kind of ridiculous. But like I don't expect the version on the Switch to be trying to use those features of Unreal Engine 5. But as heavy as this game runs, that Switch 2 version probably struggles to even try to get up to 30 FPS. Forte, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I think you are absolutely right. I do think that in general, it is very interesting that, first of all, that it wasn't something that came out at launch anyways. As soon as this game didn't come out at launch with the Switch 2, I was like, oh yeah, this thing is, and they said like a month later, I was not shocked to see that they said we're indefinitely delaying it. They always says with a heavy heart, and something we didn't want to do, but we want to make sure that we give you the best experience possible. And guess what? That probably was never going to happen on the Switch 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't put it past them at some point actually bringing it to Switch 2, but I think it's probably going to be more of an endeavor to do based on that. And then I
I
also
think it's still going to show up there. It's just going to be a while.
I just think that I also think this is probably in conjunction with Nintendo too, because they don't right now. All of the game, it's not too many games that's coming out on the Switch 2 that aren't running really like at least decently enough where you're not complaining about it. And if this game does come out, that would be like, won't say it's like a sore spot, but it would kind of tarnish a little bit of like the aura that the Switch has when it comes to like third-party games. So why release it now, especially when you're going into your first holiday season? They're probably saying, okay, well, take your time, get the game the way we need it to get to be able to run and, perform the way it needs to. And then we can push that. I don't think it's going to come out till next year now. I think it's going to be something like February of next year. And I think that's in conjunction with
If it was still going to be this year, I think they would have delayed it with an actual new date. But because there's no date, I think that means it's 2026. I agree with you.
I agree with that. Yeah, definitely.
Cool. And shout out to Cat in the chat. Cat Daddy Lurk, how's it going on? He says he just ordered the G7 Pro. All right. He's Forte, did you order the GameSir G7 Pro? Hello?
Yeah.
This man's did you hear me?
Hold on, my mom called me. That's why.
Okay, do you need to go?
Yes. Oh no, I'm here. Give me a second.
Okay. To go back to Borderlands 4, I like performance wise, they've come out with some patches that have like helped with some of the performance, but they also dropped on Steam today another update that, now for me with my 4080 Super, I haven't really dealt with any of the animation stutters, the shader cache issues that other people have been dealing with. But when I launched the game after the update, it took a very, very long time to optimize for shaders while it was loading. Then it also took a super long time for it to load into the game. And once I got into the game, it was using 2 gigs more of VRAM. And I after all that time to optimize for shaders, to address the shader cache, I still had stutters, which hadn't happened to me before. And so like it took a good maybe 5 minutes for me to stop seeing stuttering every time I moved. And I'm just like, yo, how are we going backwards in this game? Like, I don't understand. That doesn't make any sense. So they need to get on the ball and fixing those things, because like people spent their money. They want a quality experience, and it's getting down to the point when you are going backwards in your patches where it's getting worse. The experience is getting worse instead of getting better. That people, I mean, they've been needed to be called out, but now it's just getting a little ridiculous. Forte, are you back yet? Love you too, sweetie. All right. That's not for Forte. That was for my daughter. So yeah, Forte's still not back. We're gonna move on to the next topic. So let's do that now. Hideo Kojima's OD, which is being published by Xbox Game Studios. OD now has a new name, and I mean OD is still kind of in it, but it's essentially going to be called now OD Knock, which I guess the knock is like knocking or something. Like they had the whole like reveal trailer for it too, which was fairly interesting. I mean I think some of the visuals, because this is using Unreal Engine 5 and it's using MetaHuman's Unreal Engine, which does really realistic and natural looking facial expressions and animations of the face. I mean, yeah, I know I try to hold Kojima's feet to the fire, but I have to give him some credit here. Visually, that looks very good. It's a very short trailer. I'm running it on the Jumbotron right now, but it did give a lot of people who had played PT from back in the day the demo that eventually didn't turn into anything that Kojima was working on with the director Guillermo del Toro. It gave a lot of people a lot of vibes towards that of like hearing sounds behind you and knowing you need to turn around to potentially see something you may not want to see. These are not my kind of games. Just straight up. I have no problem watching a horror movie. I will watch the goriest stuff, the scariest stuff out there. Playing horror games, though, is just not my bag. So I'm just going to have to pass on that. Maybe I'll watch a Let's Play of someone else playing this, but not for me. Again, visually, I think looks really good. And according to Phil Spencer, all right, cool. According to Phil Spencer, development is well underway for OD Knock. So I'm thinking maybe we'll see this in another year or two. Forte, what are your thoughts on OD Knock?
I think the same thing. I don't think it. I think it's more than I don't think it's soon. I do think you're thinking, like you said, in a year or two. I think it's probably more closer towards, if at the earliest, will be at the end of next year, going into the year after. But I think in general, it just really comes down to what makes sense for Xbox, because like at this point, we're just seeing them move very differently than everybody else, especially when it comes to hardware. You know, we're going to talk about, you know, the situation that's going on with that, and plus new hardware coming out. So I just, it's kind of hard to like really nail down what they're doing when it comes to that. But I do agree. I don't think it's going to be something that's going to come quick. I think it's going to be something that's going to mature itself, and then it's going to be something that they're going to push out sometime late next year, early 2027. It kind of makes sense at that point. But I also think it just comes down to, they want to see what the ecosystem looks like in a year and a half from now, or a year from now, because, you know, you have a lot of people potentially jumping ship or never even getting on the ship based on some stuff that's going on. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting to see, but I do agree with the sentiment. And then like with Phil Spencer, it's like you take everything that man says with a grain of salt at this point, even though, and I never think he's like, even though I don't think he ever really lied about anything. It's just the simple fact that none of it really looks good because plans do change. But then when you put that stuff out there, people expect you to follow through on it. And there's just been way too many different things that he has mentioned that never came to fruition.
That's true. Although I think at this point, we're going to get this. I'm not sure it's going to be exactly what people expect it to be.
Right.
Because, I mean, it's Kojima. He's a little out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, even when he was trying to explain this,
the name?
I think that was always. I think OD was always like a project name.
Project name.
Yeah, yeah. And they were going to have a different name. Like apparently, from what I've heard, this isn't the only one. So OD is going to be more like kind of like an anthology name. Like you know how Supermassive Games has been doing the Dark Pictures anthology for Bandai Namco, and then there's like Man of Medan. There's what's the other one's called? I can't remember all of them. But, it's like 5 of them, at this point. I don't know if they're making any more because they weren't doing good sales-wise. But, like the Dark Pictures is the name of it. But it's like the Dark Pictures, Man of Medan, the Dark Pictures, House of Fire, whatever, right? OD Knock, I think, is like, it's the anthology OD because apparently Jordan Peele, who did Get Out, is going to be working on the next one. I forgot what the name of that one was supposed to be. He's kind of hit or miss at this point. Some of his stuff, like I heard his latest movie, Him, wasn't that good. I haven't seen it yet, so I can't say for certain. But, it's just kind of, I just feel like this is going to be more of something that, like, Kojima gets the ball rolling and then gets people interested in it, and then they do another one that's going to be horror-based game that also will try to, like, get non-gamers involved in it as well as gamers as well. So we'll have to see. I just, it ain't gonna be for me. I ain't playing it. So,
it ain't gonna be for me.
you guys can enjoy. All right, you ready to do the next one?
Yeah, let's go.
Oh, really?
Good old Microsoft.
Oh, Lord.
Good old Microsoft, man. They have raised the price of the Xbox consoles yet again. The Series S is now $399. The Series X is now $649. The Series X Digital is now $599. And the 2 terabyte Series X is now $799. Forte.
Say it with your chest.
What are your thoughts, sir? What are your thoughts, man?
Sorry. Listen, I am glad that I don't have the pressure of purchasing any of these next gen consoles. I'm so glad I don't.
Right.
I'm so glad that I invested years ago into a PC where I have the ability to like still play the majority, if not all of these games on one platform. And maybe I just have to wait a little longer for one console to bring their stuff over. Because honestly, at this point, I feel like the only true console that we really have that's a true console and his only console is Nintendo. Everybody else is like, yo, if I'm willing to wait, I can just have all of the stuff on one place. So it doesn't. I think the thing is with these price hikes, and this is talking about Xbox, Microsoft, even Nintendo when they do it in the near future, because they will with the Switch 2. I just think that at a certain point, we're just pricing a lot of people out. Like it just comes to the point like we can't. Cost of living is already ridiculous. Like people complain about food and groceries and stuff, but it's not it's not a huge groundswell of complaining about it because you still need that type of stuff to live. You still need water, and even though you can get water for free, but you still need detergent and eggs and milk and rice and grain. You need all that stuff still. All that stuff is something that unless you're growing it, you kind of need to go to the store and buy it. So that is still a necessity. Hint why grocery stores were a necessity when it came to COVID and everything. Video games, on the other hand, shoot, people are going to find other things to do with their time. And that's the honest to God truth. Like, I still sell, like I had a person, I think earlier this week, he did buy a Series X. He bought a used one. No one's really buying the new ones because they just cost too much. A used one is still $529. So I just think at a certain point we are getting dangerously close to a situation where we're just going to price people out, and either we're going to price them out of consoles, or you're going to finally push people to the platform that makes more sense. Because in my eyes, if you're going to spend $700 on a console, another $400-$500, you might as well just go ahead and pony up and get a PC. Because the way I look at it, we're closer to a new Xbox and a new PlayStation than we are anything else. We're already midway through the generation. So if you see yourself ponying up $600-$700 for these consoles now, $800 if you're talking about the higher tier ones like the PlayStation 5 Pro or the Xbox Series S 2 terabyte Galaxy Edition. If you're thinking about systems like that, by the time you buy that, in everything else, within probably 3 to 4 years, you're going to be, if you're a console person, you're going to probably upgrade. And I don't think we're going to see consoles get that cheap again, because once people start paying this money and it gets normalized, just like perfect example, Nvidia did it. And Nvidia used to give us they never were they were never like the greatest price, but then once they came out with the 30 series and people ate it up and they felt like, oh, the price for performance is amazing, and then we don't have any competition for AMD, then they just feel like, yo, 4000 series, we're not only are we gonna okie doke you, we're gonna try to sell you something that really ain't even what it is, and we're gonna sell it to you at a premium. And guess what? People went out and bought it, and then they want to complain about it, but then you had the chance to not let that happen by not buying it. So I think gamers on consoles will probably have a better chance of kind of moving that needle, because it's just not a lot of people. Like, parents are out here buying this stuff. Like, when it comes to my PC, my mom's not buying my graphics card. I'm buying my graphics card. I'm buying my CPU. It's just we're heading into a situation, and I used to tell people all the time I wanted consoles to be a little bit more expensive because I wanted, the hobby to kind of move forward so everything could equalize. But this is too much, and it's just going to drive more and more people away. But hey, we'll see exactly what's going to happen with it.
I have a lot of thoughts about this.
But yeah, go ahead. I want to hear them.
My first thought of this is partially due to tariffs. Like the tariff situation, because they only raised the prices this time again in the United States. They didn't raise prices in Europe or Asia, and they only did it, not even in South America. They only did it in the United States. They didn't raise it in Canada, just the United States. So I do think this is partially tariff driven. That said, the United States is the only real territory where Xboxes sell. They don't really sell in Europe. They definitely don't sell in Asia. And although they sell a little bit more in South America, but they really only sell in the United States. And so raising the price here makes sense if you're really trying to tell people, we really don't want you to buy this. We hope you get the hint. but we really don't want you to buy this. But if you do, we're going to make it worth our while. We're not subsidizing the price no more. So if you're going to buy it, we're going to make something off of this. At this point now, we've all acknowledged the way they do supply and demand is different. They're not making sure that retailers have stocks and stocks of warehouses full of their product just in time. Supply and demand at this point. You order it, we deliver it right then and there. That's it. We're only making enough that we need. We don't want an additional supply of a product that's not selling. And that's the real issue here, is that it's not selling. For the past 3 to 4 years, on a month-to-month basis, we have seen the decline of the Xbox consoles not being able to keep up with what the previous sales mark was year over year from the previous year. And it's been on a decline ever since. And it's declined even further and more aggressively once they start putting their games on other platforms. And so I think they understand that this is what it is, that much like how they pulled the plug on the original Xbox, except that they're not going as a hard cutoff like they did with that, because they were highly criticized for that. So instead of doing a hard cutoff like they did with the original Xbox, in lieu of a new generation they want to start, they're just giving you this. It's very much like, and this is going to either trigger some people, or it's going to have some people nodding their heads because they've done this. But yeah, you ever seen someone in a relationship that they don't want to be in? And so when they're not in there, they don't have the courage to just tell the person how they feel and break up with them. So instead what they do is they engage in some really unfortunate behavior in order to force the other person to just leave. They don't want to have that uncomfortable conversation, so they'd much rather the other person just choose to break up with them. I could never do it. I find it odd, but I have multiple friends who have done this before. And I feel like that's what Microsoft is doing with the Xbox community.
Breaking up with their player base?
Yeah. They don't want to continue doing this.
I've been thinking that for a while too. Like, it's like they're not even trying to even slow this down. It's like 0 to 100. Like, if you want to be on the Xbox platform, cool. We're not basically. This is what it seems like. They're just not subsidizing anything anymore. Like, if you want an Xbox, you're paying full price for it. We're not eating the cost or anything. If you say you want an Xbox because you love the ecosystem, we're not going to subsidize the system for you no more going forward, because that's exactly what this feels like at this point.
Yeah. And that's I mean that look. We're going to get into some other pricing that's going forward, because look, if they're going to make hardware, they're going to make it worth their while. And worth their while is not, hey, we hope you buy some games to kind of so we can break even starting out. No. Worth their while is they're making a profit off of it straight at launch. Yeah. And that's what Nintendo does, but Nintendo intentionally seeks out outdated hardware in order to achieve that goal. Microsoft isn't giving you outdated hardware, but they still don't want to take a hit at launch. So you gonna take that hit.
You gonna take it.
Or you choose not to, which is they're also fine with, because they're fine with you just buying their games on PlayStation. Yep. They are a software company at the end of the day. And so if they ain't got to make the hardware in order for you to buy the software, cool. Thank you. That's cool. I mean, the PC that they build in this PC app on, the Asus, Asus built that, not Microsoft. Your PC, you built that or paid someone to build that, not Microsoft. So they ain't got to worry about that. They just provide the software, provide the ecosystem. So that's what they want to do. And I don't anticipate it getting any higher than this, because $800 for a 2 terabyte Series X that has technology in it that's 5 years old is ridiculous. I can't see it. It will not sell at that price point. Right. And I don't see really any of these selling. The Series S, but we're going to get into some comments about this. Well, some stuff about it, because we talked about how the Series S was used to DICE, making Battlefield 6, had to do a lot of optimizing of their game in order to even get the game running on it. $400 for that? That's $100 more than where it launched at 5 years ago.
Yeah. The
Series X is $150 more expensive than what it was 5 years ago.
Yep.
These are wild, wild times. And it's just not changing anytime soon. Anything else you want to say on this before we move on to the next one?
No, man, let's go. Oh, really? Oh, really?
So, Ghost of Yote got some reviews today. We got reviews from Ghost of Yote, and its Metacritic score currently is at 87, based on 101 reviews, which is pretty good. This places it higher than what the original Ghost of Tsushima, the prequel or the previous game, launched at, which was 83. The director's cut that came out for Ghost of Tsushima later on was also at 87. But overall, this is great for Ghost of Yote. A strong opening. To kind of I didn't really look at too many reviews because I don't really care. I'm going to play the game regardless. But a good number of them kind of felt like Yote is like a very refined sequel that builds off of what the predecessor had already done. But I do have to wonder, and I pitched this question to you, Forte.
Yes, sir.
Considering the theme of the story here is a revenge story, and it has a lot of the same story beats as Assassin's Creed Shadows, with the protagonist Naoe.
Yep.
Do you feel like potentially Shadows may have stolen some of Yote's thunder?
We talked about this probably 2 months ago. I think if Assassin's Creed Shadows didn't exist, this would be a runaway no-brainer hit for this year. But I think with the fact that you had an Assassin's Creed game that finally did what a lot of people wanted to do is, venture to feudal Japan. The fact that you had 2 different play styles in that game that were drastically different from each other. So basically you're experiencing almost a game and a half, maybe if you break it up, 2 different games in one, with very, very long story progressions and stuff, because that's kind of what Assassin's Creed does. I don't think it's going to really take away from the people that are super excited for it, but I do think the people that were just kind of hungry for a game like that might have already gotten their feel with Assassin's Creed, and the aura of the first Ghost of Tsushima was so magical because it was like the first time. And then Assassin's Creed became kind of the second time. And I think that one picked up on more of the casual base. I still think the game's going to do fine. I think Yote is going to sell well. I just don't know how much of the mainstream or the casual base is going to pick up on it, because they probably, not saying they got fatigued from it, but literally that game, if you think about it, that game came out in February this year, and it seems like it was longer. It seems like it was last year, because it was supposed to come out last year in November, but it got delayed to February. So that game is not that old, and honestly, there's probably people still playing it, because we already know between that game.
I have not finished Shadows, man. Yeah, I got distracted with other stuff, and that game, it does the typical. It's not as bad as other Assassin's Creed games, but it is a bit bloated.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
definitely bloated.
I need to double check how many hours I've put into that game, and I'm still not done. But yeah, not to cut you off. I just kind of
No,
feel
you're
like
good.
yeah, they unfortunately kind of, because they're so similar. I have 46 hours in
Yeah, yeah.
Shadows,
I
and
just
I'm
think they're just
probably
too
halfway
close to
through
each
it.
other.
Yeah, and we're just too close together. Not saying that like Yote is a bad game or that it won't sell well. I think it'll sell for the people who played Tsushima,
Yep.
already understand what it's going to be like, and they're down for this experience. But like you mentioned, like the casual gamer, like a lot of those casuals bought Shadows, and Shadows I think sold pretty freaking well.
It sold really well.
So if you got a lot of casual people who've already played the game, where a good portion of the story is extremely similar to this story, they may not be very much interested in this one. Even though I think that Yote's combat looks better and looks deeper than what Shadow's combat was. It's just we'll have to see, man. We'll have to see. Like I said earlier, I'm gonna play through Tsushima again. Before I play into this one, even though I know that like the main character for Tsushima is not the main character in this one, but just to kind of get my head wrapped into the universe and the combat and the play style again before playing Yote. But anything else you want to say on this before we get to the last rapid fire?
It's gonna be wild when this game do come out, because I'm really want to see how many people are gonna. Well, we'll see. But no, that's it.
Yeah, let me address something in the chat real quick. That was JD Gamer asks you a question. I guess you can answer this question. He says Microsoft is saying to us we are changing the business model, and you old heads are not the primary target anymore, and we need to get used to that. Before you respond,
but go ahead.
Okay, that's cool. I said we really don't need to get used to anything. If you don't like it, you have options.
You have options.
He says, I think because I replied under the DPS channel, account that you were saying this, so I wanted to clarify, JD, that was coming from me. But your response is that you need to get used to it if you want to continue to engage with the Xbox brand. That's not true, because the two of us already have gaming PCs that we did not buy. Like, we don't have to go buy an overpriced Xbox in order to engage in their ecosystem. I can engage in their ecosystem on my iPhone. I can engage into their ecosystem in their games on the PlayStation that I already own. I can engage in the ecosystem with GeForce Now. I don't need to buy their overpriced hardware, nor do they care if I buy their overpriced hardware, because that's partially the reason why they're overpricing it, because they really kind of don't want you to buy it no more.
Yeah.
But when I say you have options, you should have options. That should be celebrated. You have options to play their games in various other ways. They say it all the time. It is the foundation of how they market the Xbox product now, that it's not a console anymore. That it is literally every single device that you own that has the capability to play a game. They want to call it an Xbox. Well, all right then. But if I don't want to spend $800 on a 2 terabyte Xbox Series X, or $150 more than what it cost back in 2020, I don't have to. If my Xbox Series X dies tomorrow, oh well. The games I was playing, it dies. Like Rocky. If it's done, bet I will go just play whatever I was playing on that on my PC or on my PlayStation, because those games are available there now. But yeah. So let's get into this last one.
Oh really?
So last week we were talking about how DICE, who is the developer for Battlefield, had used was not able to get the game at its current state running on the Xbox Series S, and so they had to go do some optimizing, especially on the memory front, due to the shortage of memory in the Series S in order to get it running, and this helped them just further optimize the game for all other platforms as well. So it did have an eventual result that was beneficial for everyone.
Yep.
Now, we also have the console specs of Battlefield 6. So, Forte, you ready to hear this?
I am.
PlayStation 5 will be able to play. You'll be able to play Battlefield 6 at 1440p resolution and 60 frames per second. Or 1280p and 80 plus FPS. So now 80 plus means that at minimum it's 80, but it will fluctuate. So if you play on PC, you know what that means. Like you'll have some kind of analysis tool that's analyzing and give you statistics on the game that you're currently playing. And when people say on average it's running around like 90 FPS, it's not literally staying at 90 FPS the entire time. It may go down to 75, it may go up to 110 every now and then, but on average it's at 90. But it's moving all over the place because depending on what you're doing in the game, depending on the load that the game is putting on your hardware, it can't maintain just 90 FPS.
Right.
If that makes sense. And this is the same thing happens on consoles, just to a greater degree because the hardware is even if it may be more current hardware than some people's PCs, a discrete CPU and GPU also has a beefier power supply, more likely in play, with better RAM and a lot of other components to their rig, their system, that is helping that out. In addition to the fact that they don't have to worry about an APU that's sharing resources between the CPU and GPU, and a device that's designed to be ran at lower spec and lower power consumption. So it's a bit different there. So I just wanted to explain that real quick. For the PS5 Pro, you're getting 4K. They just said 4K. I don't know if it's dynamic. I don't know if it's upscaled to more than likely upscaled to 4K, considering the engine involved. But 4K and 60 frames per second, or 1620p at 80 plus frames per second. And with the Series X, it's basically exactly what you got with the PS5, 1440p 60 fps or 1280p 80 fps. And the Series S only has one option, which is a maximum, which means it's not hitting this all the time, a maximum 1080p at 60 frames per second. So, Forte, what are your thoughts about these console specs for Battlefield 6?
Well, at least they prioritize. I'm happy that they at least prioritize the PS5 Pro and gave it 4K because I was gonna be like, if they would have made that thing the same as the Xbox Series X, I'm like, what did you buy? Why did you spend all that money for that system? You can't even get, 4K 60 frames per second. Now, I am not gonna be a hypocrite. I have always said that the Xbox Series X and the PS5 should target 1440p 60 frames per second. 1440p 120. So I am ecstatic that Battlefield is offering that to you guys, because that is incredible. I don't think that you should be looking. I mean, granted, if you have a 4K TV and you're blowing it up on an OLED, absolutely, I get it. But then you're going to get, upscaling anyway. So it's not going to look as bad as it possibly could. But I think that's where these consoles are. 1440p, 60 to 120 is a really, really good number. Especially in a visual fidelity type game like Battlefield, because it's not going to look as bad because they already went above and beyond when it came to the texture quality that they're using. You're going to get lower res textures on console, but it's still going to look significantly better than it being something like 1080p 160, where you blow that thing up and it's like going to look blurry as heck at some point. So I think that's a really
especially
cool,
if you're playing it on like some of these like OLED TVs, these
like
TVs that, or if you're playing like on like these 4K TVs with a TCL, like it's going to look not very pretty at that resolution, considering that like a lot of these TVs may not be having some of the other technology that we kind of see in the more expensive ones that kind of will make that a little bit like nicer than what it actually looks like, right? And the bigger the TV you're playing it on, because like I play on PC, I play on 27-inch monitors. Forte's got an ultra wide. If you're a console guy, and you know, look, on PC you can play on these TVs as well, but typically a lot of people are playing on like 55 inches or bigger,
right?
OLED or just you know HD TVs, and it don't look that pretty when you're playing it on the screen that big. So you know it's 1440p is nice, and that's a good compromise, and a lot of PC gamers play at that resolution, or target that resolution because it looks nice and it's not as difficult to run at acceptable frame rates at 4K. And so like I would love for a lot of gamers, console gamers, to kind of like let these manufacturers, these platforms know that they're just fine with 1440p, because here we are, you know, post PlayStation and Xbox having their made up fake 4K terms last generation, true 4K. You know, like that was some BS. It wasn't how you calling it true 4K and you checkerboard rendering. It's not happening. It's just like that's no longer going on now. But like, in short, like upscaling, some upscalers can make a game look better than 4K, depending on the upscaler and the mode that you're using. But it's just it's a bit overrated at this point for native resolution. So like I think it's nothing that people need to worry about. Me personally, I think this is fine, just as long as what I find more important, especially in a game like this, is that the frame rate remains. You know, like you can have some dynamic resolution if you want. I don't want my frame rate being dynamic when you're targeting 60 FPS. Like that tells me it's going below 60 FPS, which is not acceptable, because that affects how you play the game. So, anything else you want to say on this before we move on to the actual
PC
topics?
all day. You know what? We're gonna be playing 3K up to 4K at whatever my graphics card is able to do. Which in the beta with low with not the great, well, I won't say not the greatest, with decent optimization, I was still running well over 130 frames per second. So just wait till they come out with an optimized version of it. So we'll see.
Yeah. Moving on. Let's get into the Xbox Tokyo Game Show that went live very, very early this morning, because it went live in Japan time. And so I got a couple of highlights here that we can start to kind of get into. I didn't want to talk about every single game, but just like some of the actual highlights of the people have been discussing. And so the first one here is that for Call of Duty Black Ops 7 that's coming out in a couple of months, they have Japanese-based multiplayer maps. Forte, did you see that?
I did.
What were your thoughts on that?
I think, listen, the one thing I will always give Activision is they are of all the companies, they are willing to try different things for Call of Duty. They are willing to shake it up and like try to give players something different. Doesn't mean it's going to work all the time, but I do think I appreciate them actually putting an effort into doing it, and that being something that they're willing to do, because guess what? They already know that the game is probably going to sell pretty decently well. But if you don't try changing it up, you never know if you're going to be able to capture that new audience or anything. So having dedicated things like this in the game, I think, is a really, really good move. I ain't gonna lie, I was actually shocked. I was like, what? They are? Okay. Because I remember the last time they did like a co-op feature, like some of the best co-op features was like in Modern Warfare where they did the Spec Op modes. And then I think the last Call of Duty single player that had co-op was Black Ops 4. And it was a 4-player co-op through the whole campaign because it was it wasn't a campaign, but it was 4-player co-op through a bunch of missions and stuff. So I like the fact that they're doing this, and I think that's actually a really, really good move.
Cool. I
How do
care
you
less.
feel?
I care less that they got some Japanese-based multiplayer maps. I just want them to be good maps. Because if they're not good maps, I am voting for something else when it shows up on the playlist. And if it's really bad, I'm leaving the lobby before if it gets chosen. I'm leaving the lobby, which I will do from time to time if I'm just sick of being forced to play a trash map, which has been increasingly been the problem with Call of Duty. More and more each year, after each release, it seems. Another update here was from Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, having a Japan World update in there. I thought that looked dope. Looked all right. Definitely not going to engage in it because I don't care about flight sim. Forte, what were your thoughts on that?
Sir, that flight sim looked awesome. It looks good. I will always be happy to see flight sim across the screen. Now, this is the thing. Haven't played flight sim in quite a while at this point, but every time I see it, it makes me want to jump into it. But then I get to the point where I remember how big the update is and how much hard drive space it takes, and then I'm like, oh, that's why it's not installed on my PC right now. Because that game, you talk about Call of Duty, that thing has to download individual modules for every plane. Like, you got the base game, which is probably like 100 gigs, but then if you want the modules that have separate things, you're downloading like 300-400 gigs worth of extra stuff. So to have the whole flight sim experience, better have a whole hard drive dedicated to it. At least that's what it is on PC. I guarantee they streamline it a little bit for a lot for console. But
right,
I like seeing it because I still haven't gotten the chance because I haven't played it since they released the new update where you have the fire rescue and the chopper rescues and stuff like that, oil rigs and stuff. I like that they're adding more variety to the gameplay, and it's not like they're kind of making it more a game than a simulation because that's all flight sim is. It's just a big simulation that you can like really teach yourself how to fly in a sim, especially if you get all the proper tech, tools and stuff like yokes and yaws and throttles and stuff like that. It's a very immersive game. But the fact that it's it's coming to multiple platforms. They talked about it here. I think it's a good move. I can never not cheese when I see flight sim because it's like how car porn is, but it's with planes. And honestly, this version looks way better than the car version, and the car version looks good. but this version looks incredible. So yeah, I actually like it.
Yeah. Yeah, the next highlight was they did do a deep dive into the Ninja Gaiden 4 difficulties, settings and design. I think that game is going to be
That game's gonna
really
be so
good.
hard. It's gonna be so
Yeah,
hard.
I think a lot of people are going to love that game. Like I may eventually have to jump in on that. Just despite all the other games that I am more interested in playing right now, every time I see Ninja Gaiden 4, I come away impressed. So I feel like I probably going to have to jump in on that sooner than I anticipate. What about you, man?
No, I agree with that. I think in general, it really just comes back to gameplay. Shout out to Lord Cognito. I know he was having a ball out there. He had every time I saw a picture of him, he had his ninja shirt on, which is pretty cool. But I think at from the beginning to end, it just really comes down to what's the difficulty curve going to be like, what's the story going to be like. We already know there's a lot of different abilities, the fast pace of the gameplay in general, and plus I think they've done a really really good job in getting people excited with all of the different versions of, like, with Ninja Gate and what was the one that starts with the R that just released not too long ago? The side scrolling one.
Black? I can't
Not
remember.
Black. I forget what it was called. But the one that just literally recently just came, round something. Was it Rebound? Oh, Ninja Gaiden I think it was Rebound or something like that. But
Ragebound.
Ragebound, yeah. And
There
I
you go.
think they've done a really, really good job in like getting people excited by just releasing something like that. And then I also think Shinobi is actually bringing a lot of more, people into it, because it's always been
Mm-hmm.
about Shinobi versus Ninja Gate, which one's better. But I think it's actually enhancing this version because this is a full-fledged three-dimensional game, and we really haven't had one of those like since Ninja Gate and Black and the originals that they remastered and brought to Xbox into PC recently earlier this year. So I'm really looking forward to that, and the combat looks insane in that game, and
Yeah.
a lot of button mashing going to be happening for some people.
Let's see. Project Evil Bane was revealed, a 4-player co-op action RPG. I thought that looked dope when they showed that off. That's likely coming out. Not. I don't think they had a release date, but I think that's more likely going to be something that's a 2026 game. What did you think about that one? Did you see that one?
I did. I think it's going to be pretty. It's going to be pretty cool. I like the aesthetic of the game. For the most part, like the biggest thing I didn't get a chance to like really, really look at it was like because it happened so early in the morning, and at that moment I completely forgot about it, and I was playing Borderlands at that time, and then I was watching it while I was at work, like going back and forth and seeing it. So I will say I did rewind it a couple of times just to see the gameplay over.
You remember?
Yeah, go ahead.
You remember Grand Blue Fantasy Relink?
Yep, sure do.
It gave me a lot of vibes of that, like a similar game design, just with a different art direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed Relink, even though like I did not spend too much time in it. But this one I want to give this one a shot. So when that comes out, anybody trying to play that, let me know. I'm down. What else here? Let's just the big thing that everyone is talking about from Xbox's Tokyo Game Show: Forza Horizon 6 set in Japan and announced to come out in 2026. And the port to PS5 will be post-launch. Forte, your thoughts?
Worst kept secret ever.
Yeah, basically. Everyone was aware of this. Well,
we knew about this 6-7 months ago. Literally, it was like it wasn't confirmed, but it was like, come on now, like. Whereas even if you didn't even know that that they were thinking about Japan, you're just thinking about where's the next place that they could go to like really spruce up the game, because that was kind of the thing with Horizon 4 and 5. It was more of the same. Like there wasn't too much of a big enough difference between Horizon 4, with I think that's the one that took place in, was it Europe or something? Or
four is in England.
England, that's right, England.
Yeah.
And
5 is in Mexico.
In Mexico. And then this will be in Japan. And to this day, up until this point, I do think that Forza Horizon 5 has the best gameplay, but I still think 3 has the best overall like aura. Like, not because it was the first one that kind of did something different compared to like the first two, but I feel like they kind of been iterating on the same vision and not adding enough variety to what is going to be needed. And that's why it felt a lot samey, because the visuals, not the visuals, but the settings kind of melded together. Like you was mostly in the country of England. And then if you couldn't even, like, outside of going into the mountains and stuff in Mexico, you kind of all looked the same until you got into the cityscapes and stuff.
Right. Like,
this is going to be completely
I want to
different.
be in like Tokyo drifting around corners in the streets, you know. But my you know what I would have loved though?
What you would have loved?
To actually see a car driving in this trailer. Is it just me?
Oh, here we go.
But that teaser trailer left the game coming out next year.
First of all, they started in a freaking garage again, and I got Contraband vibes off of it.
Right. The cancel Contraband, right?
Yeah, right.
So I'm like, the game's coming out next year. Contraband could have got away with it because it didn't have a release date or even a release year. You know, even though Fair Games is probably going to, Fair Games is probably going to get canceled, but Fair Games showed a whole bunch of stuff. They gave you a concept of what you were playing. That was a brand new IP. So, you know, when it's not close to coming out, I understand what a teaser trailer is supposed to do. Fable, teaser trailer, was fine with it. Fairy, flying around, frog eater, ha ha ha. You know, it's nothing there of what actually is going to be in Fable at that time. And then years later, we get, you know, we start to see actual in-game footage of the game. When this game is coming out next year, why are we looking at license plates?
Yeah, I'm with you.
I mean, just and considering how I believe, based on some things that I heard, more than likely this is going to release before the next Xbox showcase. Of course, after the Dev Direct in Japan in January, but before the next Xbox showcase. That's like less than a year. Let's say it is a year. So from now to the next September, you can't show us a little bit of something? Like, clearly you're going to show us a lot more next year, but I just thought that as teasers go, that was a bit underwhelming.
Right. No, I don't disagree with you.
Overall, I kind of felt the showcase was a bit meh. Like nothing to write home about. Really, the big thing is Forza Horizon 6, where they didn't show it. I would have loved to seen, you know, Japan running in Forza tech, which looks amazing. And I can just imagine with like at nighttime and you know, in some of those cityscapes, driving the car is going to look amazing, you know. But and then and seeing some of the vehicles that they have, like specifically worked with specific manufacturers that don't have vehicles that I don't see in America that would be in this game. I would have loved to see them showcase those off a little bit. You know, it's just a little taste. You know, I thought that would have been fine. But
I don't disagree.
What was your overall thoughts in the show?
Like you said, you know, Forza was kind of the thing that a lot of people was looking forward to, was kind of the thing that made me like kind of tune in just to see what it would kind of be. And we didn't. Disappointed because I wanted to see like the thing when you just said, like, I would have loved to see a car, because I still feel like the best reveal they did in Forza was when they were showing that still image, not even a still image. We thought it was just a still picture. We thought it was a picture of Horizon 5 in Mexico, where they had the rocks on the side of the road and they had the street. And they were talking about the lighting and talking about the real like physics. They were talking about like the geometry, how they went out and remember when they talked about they went out and photographed the rocks and everything and got real up close. And then right as they were getting ready to tune off, they show a car zoom through the picture. And I was like, yo, that was a video the whole time?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Cause I was like, cause I remember they just had it up on the screen and they were talking about all the different pebbles and the rocks and everything, not zooming in or anything. It was just a road with just stuff in it. And they were talking about all the different things like the lighting and everything. And then all of a sudden they said, well, here we want to introduce you to Forza Horizon 5. And all of a sudden you saw two cars racing through the scene. And I was like, that looked cool. And I wish they would have did something like that in this. Like, even if I don't even care if you would have like ripped off the same thing. Show me downtown Tokyo. Show me Japan, and show me like pedestrians walking up inside the street, or showing them crossing the street in a certain area. Then when the light goes red, all of a sudden you see a whole bunch of cars just shooting through the scene. You know, I think that's what a lot of people probably was expecting or was hoping for. But I know they're gonna knock it out the park, because they really haven't, even though people been kind of disappointment, like I said, when it comes to like the overall like sameness of what Forza Horizon is. I think that they're going to kind of take it up a notch with this one, because it is a new setting. It's something that they've never, it's in a city that they've never been in. And they know that a lot of people have been buzzing for this. And they also know that the allure of what racing and drifting and everything is in Japan is monumental. So I think they're actually going to like really lean into that. At least that's what I hope. So I'm not worried about it. I just wish I could have seen something like you just said, and that would have kind of taken it over the top a little bit. But the rest of the show, I'll give it somewhere like in the B range. Like it wasn't like something that I put this way. I wouldn't have been mad if I didn't forgot about it and then I just caught all the videos at the end on the IGN replay or something like that, or like watching it on the Jumbotron or something like that while we're talking about it. I wouldn't have been mad if I would have missed it.
Yeah, all right. Let's get into man, this next topic here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you do.
I know where this is going.
Now, to bear in mind, everyone, Forte does not know the prices.
I don't.
Of that have been revealed today about the Xbox ROG Ally and Ally X.
I'm scared.
And so, after a long period of time, and with this device coming out in only a few weeks, we finally got pricing for this device in Forte.
Yeah.
The Xbox ROG Ally.
The price was what we thought was $899. That's what we thought, because that's what.
Before we get to the Ally X, let's just do the Ally, okay?
Okay.
We thought so. It was initially the Ally is $599.
Okay, the Ally is $599. Okay, continue.
Hold on, you're fine with that?
No. Continue. No.
Okay,
I'm not.
Okay,
continue.
Okay. The Ally X is $999.
Okay, so $999.
$1,000.
Woo. Okay, now that's egregious. Oh shoot. Okay. $599. Now, once again, I can't be. The Ally is more powerful than a Switch 2. and the Switch 2 comes in at
Oh, absolutely.
$499, $449, $499, whichever one you want to pick. I do think that the only reason people deal with the Nintendo price is because it's Nintendo IPs, and you only could get them on a Nintendo IP. So that kind of people are willing to spend the extra money because of that exclusivity. Because I don't think the Switch without that exclusivity could even survive at $300 if they didn't have that exclusivity.
Agreed.
But so if you look at it in the lens of that, this seems like a steal for a more powerful handheld. But but $599, $600. $600 for a handheld. That is the price of a home console. And I don't know what to say about it. Like $600
So
for just
I'll tell you.
For the starting. Wait. What's the battery life on that thing?
Oh, it's pretty good. It's got pretty good battery life from what they've proposed. The specs, yes, it's got pretty good. Now, when it gets to actual testing and the fact that this is actually really a PC, it's not a console.
Yeah, it's a PC.
It's a PC. It's not like a Switch 2, which is a closed system. You know, it's not going to be like when PlayStation comes out with their handheld in the future. That's going to be a closed system. This is a PC. This is an open environment, and therefore it's also running Windows PC, which Microsoft has done. You know, they're doing their best to kind of give you a console-like experience, where like you know how like Steam has big picture mode. You can go into big picture mode on your PC or on a handheld that runs Steam OS. Like this is giving you something like that straight out of the box, so that like for them trying to transition console gamers into this ecosystem, this is what they would like. They think that they can feel comfortable playing.
Interesting.
That said, it's still a PC.
It's still a PC.
And no matter what their marketing says out to everyone behind closed doors, when they talking to devs and devs like, "Do I need a dev kit for this?" and they're like, "No, because it's a PC." And it's a literal conversation that happened where devs asked about this: "Do we need dev kits?" And they was like, "No, you don't need dev kits.
You don't need dev kits.
It's a Windows operating system." And so, I say all that to say,
it.
This is overpriced, and it's overpriced. And I'm gonna tell you why. Like, I was kind of hoping this was going to be $499, because at $500, I felt like this had a chance to be truly successful and to truly saturate the market, become the most popular and the most sold handheld. At $500, I think you could get some people who are interested in this and potentially trying a new kind of experience to make that jump. There are two kind of camps of people out here that may be interested in this device. The people who are typically console gamers, or maybe they're PC gamers, and they may want to have something that they could use on the go that isn't a Nintendo product that only plays Nintendo games, but something that plays everything else that they like to play, right? And so you have this device that technically for those people, this is an accessory. This isn't how they mainly play games. If you are a console gamer, you mainly play on a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X or S.
Yep.
This is couch gaming. If you're a PC gamer, you're mostly playing on a desktop PC, and you're either on your couch with that or you're at a desk with that. When you have, like, the Steam Deck is the most successful one, and the Steam Deck has sold like 3 or 4 million copies, and that's the most successful one with just 3 or 4 million copies, and it's been out for how many years? It's because it is an additive to the gaming experience. It's not the main way you play games. Now, there are people who do play games primarily on PC handhelds, but they are such a small minority. They're a nascent market that they're basically inconsequential. That's what the Ally X is about, which we'll get to. The pricing for that. People are going crazy over that pricing. I may have somewhat of a different opinion on that, but we'll see. I think the biggest L with this is the $599 because that was the entry model. That's the one that would have sold more.
Yeah.
But you overpriced that too. That one would have really sold at $499. Maybe not have like been, you know, the most amazing thing ever in sales, but it would have moved units at $599. I think I said this a few weeks ago on the podcast. This is Microsoft's PSVR 2. PlayStation's PSVR 1 was a compromised VR experience, but it was cheap. And so it outsold all the other VR products because VR was a nascent market. It is an additive kind of gaming. VR gaming is not how people primarily play games. It is what you do on the side. And so when you have a side chick kind of device, you're not trying to spend the same amount of money you spent on your primary gaming experience on your side gaming experience. People just don't do that primarily. And so when Sony saw that PSVR 1 did great and they made PSVR 2, but and now granted, don't get me wrong here. The PSVR 2 was appropriately priced for the kind of hardware it was, the technology it was. It was trading blows with Valve's Index, which is $1,000 handheld. Sorry, $1,000 VR device. The $550 the PSVR 2 cost was appropriately priced. The problem is it's tethered to a PS5 and it is a secondary gaming experience. And for people, for a secondary gaming experience, they're not spending what they spend on their primary game experience for that. Now, to go to this Xbox Ally at $600, someone who has an Xbox Series X is not spending that money on that for a handheld, although pretty, you know, it's more powerful than a Steam Deck OLED. But it's not more powerful than the Series S.
No.
And so it's portable, so it's not considered it's supposed to be more powerful than the Series S. But again, that's $600 that you're paying for that. Most people are going to say that's not worth it. And so far, out of the only people that I see who are like, I'm buying this, are people who are complete super Xbox bleed green guys, or people who primarily play games on PC handhelds. And that's just not going to be enough to justify, like that's not going to get great sales.
They don't.
So
I don't think they care about great sales though, SloMo.
Maybe apparently they don't. Now this Xbox Ally, this $1,000 Ally X. What are your thoughts about that one?
Woo! Pay to play. That's what there is. Now this is the thing. There is a market for people at the super high end for something like this. So it's more of a market for them at the $1,000 price point, which sounds crazy, than it is, like you said, at the $600 price point, $599 for the other one. I think, I'm not gonna lie, if push came to shove, and if I wanted to have a dedicated handheld experience that was more tailored to the ecosystem that Xbox wants to have, I can see myself buying one of those. But it would have to be something so earth-shattering moving that I have to play it everywhere I go. And I just feel like, yes, it's a PC, so productivity is still a thing, but this is being made more of with consoles in mind. Hit why it's not being really hit by the tariffs, because these are not even affected by the tariffs because they're technically not listed as gaming devices. They're listed as PCs, and PCs are excluded from that. So that's why And that's another reason why this price sounds so crazy, because it's not even including tariffs. So if they ever got hit with them, how much would this thing really cost? So I think that there is a market for something like this, but that market is also has the ability to pick up a myriad of other different things. Like for $1,000, I'd rather go out and honestly buy a really good laptop that I can do everything on, because to get the thing people don't realize about handhelds, especially at that price point, people talk about the portability, and the portability is definitely a thing. It's the biggest benefit it has, but these type of devices, in order to get everything out of it, like all the juice, all the voltage, you have to have it plugged in, which tethers you to a plug at that point. So if I want to pay $1,000 for something and have that type of gameplay advantage, I'm almost looking at it just like we were talking about with consoles. Like, we're getting super close to that next step in performance that a laptop would give you. And yeah, it's bigger. You would carry a backpack, but let's be for real here. You're not going to be carrying your ROG Ally X just in a case walking around with it. Most people that have these, like even my Switch, I don't just carry my Switch case. I carry a backpack that is big enough to actually have a laptop in it if I want to. I kind of took my laptop out of my bag because I wasn't using it for a while, but it's just because I wasn't using it. So I think this will be beneficial to some people, but I just think you're right on that cusp to where it can also make people kind of think about, do I really need this, or should I spend a little bit more money and get that? And then it's just a lot of competition in that $1,000 price point that they're going to be entering into. But there is a market for $1,000 handheld at this point.
I think the sticker shock is hitting people pretty hard.
It's real. They thought Xbox was going to subsidize that thing.
Right.
No, they weren't.
The competition for the Xbox ROG Ally X in the PC handheld market is the MSI Claw, which is I think that's like $1,200 right now. I think a lot of people that have sticker shock are like $1,000 of people who don't know how much PC handhelds really cost. The Legion Go 2 is like $1,200 as well, more than $1,200 now I think about it. So this price, even though it's $1,000, is still cheaper than those handhelds.
Yeah.
Now, granted, the MSI Claw is a more powerful PC handheld than the Xbox ROG Ally X.
Mm-hmm.
So it should be more expensive.
It should be.
So in a way, people are going to hate to hear this. The Ally X is somewhat appropriately priced, but if you want mass adoption of these things, appropriately priced and $1,000 can't be in the same sentence.
Right.
And so the $899 was more of a hope for a lot of people, really, because that would have really kind of reset that premium PC handheld market. But it being at $999, I think doesn't really matter, because the people that I know that were interested in that device, I've seen them spend way more than that for a PC handheld. For some PC handhelds with some terrible customer service from Chinese companies they can barely pronounce. And so they don't really care about the price. They got the disposable income to spend it. And so it being $999, considering some of these people already bought an MSI Claw, already bought the previous ROG Ally X that was $800, they're cool. Right. but the thing is that Ally X was never going to be the major seller of the two.
Right.
It was going to be the regular one. And not having that regular one at a price where people feel like I said this in the chat to kind of try to help people understand what I mean here, that like the Steam Deck is the most successful PC handheld. You can get one for $300 right now. And it plays all the same games that you would play on the Xbox Ally. Half the price. Is it anywhere near as performant? No. But we got people, half the console population is still on last generation consoles. The target demographic for this kind of device aren't the people who are going to be caring about the specs. They don't even know what the specs are. The most successful VR headset, the most successful one, is the MetaQuest. And all the MetaQuests on average have been cheaper, for the most part, than their competition. The cheaper ones, those are the ones that end up getting mass adopted. And so I kind of feel like we'll see how this turns out, but I kind of feel like they should have ate some costs on the Ally, the regular Ally, and then just they do whatever you want with the price of the Ally X, because that thing is more expensive.
Yeah.
It's using a Z2 Extreme APU in it. That's expensive. And you ain't about subsidizing costs no more, so be it. That's the one you probably don't want to subsidize the cost on. But you're not really doing yourself any favors when you're targeting the lower end for the people who are curious. They're curious about PC handhelds. They're curious about that kind of experience. No one's spending $600 on curiosity. It's just not how this works. So, yeah.
How do you really feel, SloMo? Do you really?
No,
do you really like what they're doing?
In the chat, I'm being told I'm showing my PC elitism. Because I said that the Steam Deck is you don't need to tinker with the Steam Deck, which is funny because like I don't think you understand. You will have to tinker with this Xbox Ally as well. There is no it's just a streamlined, it's just going to work experience. It's a PC handheld. You need to worry about power consumption. So you're going to have to tinker with how much power your device is using. Because although doing it on its own, it has been tested by people who have had their hands on it. It is not great at this point in time. So you're going to have to tinker with that. You're going to have to deal with bugs. You're going to have to deal with it because it's a PC. So as good as Steam OS is, every now and then you do have to mess around with things. But generally, it works. And yes, you can play GeForce Now, and you can stream Game Pass on the Steam Deck, which I wouldn't say is the most preferred experience, but this is still a additive device. A device that's adding on to your gaming experience. It's not how someone is going to play the majority of their games. So yeah, I think people have a big misconception of what these handhelds are intended to do. And I think there's a bit of like buying into the marketing of things. But once they get their hand on it and they realize like which things don't work quite as well as they want it to, or the battery, although it's got a good battery in there, they're drawing way too much power on some of these games. that they're trying to play natively, and it's not even getting the kind of like performance that you would have got on the Series S. Like I feel like there's going to be some for some people who think it's kind of pie in the sky thoughts. It's going to be a bit of a bit of a different experience for them. Anything else you want to say on this before we move on?
Nope, that's it.
Cool. Let's see here. Last topic of tonight is about PlayStation State of Play. That came out yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. PlayStation State of Play for September 2025. And let's get into the highlights of that. First thing they did right off the break was showcase Housemarque's Sorrows, and did a big gameplay reveal for the game. Imagine that, showing gameplay, right? Anyway, it basically, and look, Forte, you can let me know how you feel about this. This just looked like Returnal 2 to me. It looked like Returnal. It moved like Returnal. The shooting is like Returnal. The art direction is like Returnal. The design of the levels are like Returnal, which isn't a bad thing. Returnal is a very good game, and if you like Returnal, you probably can't wait to play this. But it just looked like Returnal, so I don't know why you just didn't call it Returnal 2. But cool, it just looked like Returnal with better abilities. But what were your thoughts on it?
Oh man, dude, I thought this show was gonna be, I thought it was gonna probably be horrible because none of them really been that great. But that game out the gate, like as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, this is basically Returnal 2.0. I like that, the ability, the dodging, the fact that they're giving you a shield, that you can use to repel damage and stuff. When I saw that, and I saw some people say, "No, they just made the game easier." I was like, "Bro, you do not realize if they're giving that to you as an ability, this game is going to be so much harder than Returnal was, because they ain't gonna just give you that and not balance it and give you even more stuff to have to deal with on the back end." I was thoroughly impressed by what I saw from that game. I was like, "Yo, this looks really, really cool." I'm a sucker for particle effects. So when I saw like all the different, like as you're doing damage and stuff, and it's like basically like just splash damage off of the enemies that you're doing, I thought that was really, really cool. It's a good, and the thing about this game, like the gameplay has to be great, but it looks good doing it. And I think that they're 2 for 2 on this. When I saw it and I was watching the gameplay, I was like, yo, this actually looks really, really good. Like, I didn't think it wasn't going to look good, but it kind of hit me out of nowhere. And I was like, yo, this is a go-getter. This might be a day one buy right here, because if you like Returnal, I think they kind of stepped it up immensely with this one.
Yeah, they did. Like, and like the abilities, and it's essentially like Returnal, just with better gameplay, which again, not knocking Returnal. This is better than from what they showed of what Returnal was, which again, I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's, considering that the art style is so similar, maybe it's within the same universe. Maybe we find out that it's related, you know, and maybe the
I was looking
right
for her.
So yeah, I thought it looked good. I thought that was fine.
Yeah, I thought it looked really good.
They had a trailer for Microsoft Flight Sim 2020-24, which is now coming to PlayStation 5. We talked about this, I think last week, where it was rumored to be coming out in November, but instead, the only thing was wrong about that rumor is that it's coming out in December 8th to be exact. So, how do you think that's going to do on PlayStation, Forte?
There's nothing like it over there. So, but this is the thing, like it having nothing like it over there doesn't mean it's gonna do the greatest, because I don't really know how Flight Sim did on Xbox itself. I know it did pretty good on PC. But some sales are better than no sales, and it's a game that they've probably been working on porting for a while. I think they're going to get enough sales to make up for the fact that they did a port, because like I said, there's no other game like that on the platform. And I do have a lot of people to the store that look for like flight games, simulation games, and stuff like that. I actually had a person that was like 2 days ago. He was looking for a PlayStation flight stick because he plays like Ace Combat and everything like that. And he wanted to know like what kind of flight sticks we had for it. So I definitely know those people are there. I think that it's going to sell decently well. I don't think it's going to like blow its like, it's not going to do anything like Horizon did when they went over there, because that's kind of a more approachable game. But I think it's going to be worth their while doing it, and I think it's going to do good for the kind of game that it is.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's going to do fine over there because they don't really have anything that's like it on the platform.
Nothing that approaches it. Nowhere near.
Right. So I think, I mean, it's not going to sell like amazing, like a gazillion million, units, but because it's like a sim like that isn't super popular. But I think the people who are interested in it, they don't have any competition on the platform to get people to not buy it. So I think that Flight Sim is going to do really well for them. I feel like they'll be satisfied with what they get from it as far as sales wise.
Right.
They also showed a first look of the Battlefield 6 campaign. I know you saw that. What were your thoughts on that?
Yo, they are going super cinematic with this one, bro. I was like, I was already excited for the campaign when I saw the original like trailer for the single player campaign. But seeing this kind of was like, okay, now this is more in line gameplay wise what you're going to see, and you can definitely see like it's like the emotions. Like I'm not really used to seeing that in the Battlefield. Granted, Battlefield 4 I think had really, really good with Irish and stuff, and the motion caption was really, really good in it. But the story was kind of throwaway. I have high expectations for this because, like I said, once again, Vince Appella, the last time he gave us a first shooter with a story, it was the best shooter ever that had a story when it came to that. And nothing has approached that to this day. So I have high expectations for that. And it may not be fair, but I expect him to like really, really show out. And I wouldn't be surprised if this Battlefield can come. I wouldn't be. It would be hard to say it can beat what Titanfall did, but I wouldn't put it past this being something that a lot of people are super. Like, I think this will bring back the people that love playing single player when it comes to stuff like that. Because I used to be, and I still am to a point. I used to be those people, a person that would buy Call of Duty just to play the single player, and that's because Vince Appella got me to do that when it came to like the Modern Warfare. I said, okay, I'm gonna play single player before I even jump into multiplayer. That has kind of dissipated for a lot of people, even knowing the stakes have gotten higher in Call of Duties and stuff like that, and the single players have gotten more bombastic. A lot of people just say, I just go play the multiplayer. They really found no reason to play the single player. And even the people that used to buy the game only for single player kind of fell off. I think this game probably has a good chance of doing it. And that's just like kind of examining it from 30,000 feet on a 2-minute trailer or 3 minutes worth of trailers since they've been showing it. But I got to give the pedigree that he brought. Like, you are what you made the last time you were out. And I think that Vince is either going to go to another level with this one, or a lot of people are just going to like temper expectations. I don't think they're going to think it's going to be a bad single player, but if it doesn't like come close or at least in the same stratosphere as what he did before, I think people are going to be like, oh, okay, it was just a good single player. I enjoyed it. I think it was probably one of the best Battlefield ones, but I'm expecting kind of more because I feel like that's kind of what we need in those type of single player games. We need more, and we need to be emotionally invested, because
I'll tell
think
you what.
that's the thing that Battlefield, that's the thing that Titanfall did the best. It made you emotionally attached to BT in that game, to just the whole scenario of everything, on top of having amazing gameplay and everything.
I'll tell you what, if Battlefield 6, and I've said this already, that Battlefield 6's success won't mean an L for Call of Duty. They're very different in how they play first-person shooters. And so even though at launch you'll see a lot of Call of Duty players and streamers playing Battlefield 6, when Call of Duty comes out, they playing Call of Duty, bro. They're going to big jump off of that. But there is a Battlefield community that wants a true Battlefield. And every time they show anything like this trailer, that trailer for the campaign got me hyped.
Yeah, it did.
Hyped to play the campaign, which I haven't been hyped to play a Call of Duty campaign in God knows how long. I can't wait to play that campaign. They have a Battle Royale coming that they haven't shown yet. But like that Battle Royale, they can nail that, like this is going to be the Battlefield. If they nail this campaign, what we saw from the multiplayer, which was great, continues to continue that on and actually be great, and then the Battle Royale is fire. You know how like at one point we saw, and I kind of showed it in some episodes back, the PowerPoint slide where Sony told their investors that 50% of all the revenue that's generated in the store comes from 12 games. If they really nail all of this, they're gonna add Battlefield 6 to that as well. Because then that especially that Battle Royale, that will give it truly lasting staying power. Where a year from now, people are still playing Battlefield 6, looking forward to the next season, you know?
Yep.
The next expansion, not just the multiplayer, but the Battle Royale too, because that's what Call of Duty did. That's what Call of Duty pivoted to.
Yeah.
2/3 of the Call of Duty community play Warzone. They don't play the multiplayer or zombies. They play Warzone.
Yeah.
So, like, it was smart for Vince to go this route, to try to provide that experience. Now they just gotta execute and nail it, you know. And I hope they do, because I would love to see the Battlefield peeps have their game. You know, as a major Halo fan who hasn't had a Halo game have that kind of staying power in a while, I would love for another community to get a W. You know.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. You're spitting right now.
The another thing that they showed, and this I thought this was interesting to bring up. Oh crap! Wait, before that, there was a Gran Turismo update that looked pretty significant, pretty hefty. I know neither one of us really played that. I just wanted to kind of just throw that out there that they had an update for that too. But so remember Disco Elysium?
Yep, I do.
This is made by a studio called ZAUM. They also have very public, and we kind of discussed this on the show before, public spat where a lot of the founders and a lot of the creative foundation of that game left the studio unceremoniously. Well, they have revealed their next game, the studio that is, without all the people who really made Disco Elysium. It's called Zero Paradis. And first thing I noticed about it was it almost looked like they are using a lot of the same assets from Disco Elysium, like the font in the words is the same. Some of the prompts and choices that you make have the same look. And so I thought that maybe that the studio would try to distance themselves away from Disco Elysium because they're not really the same people. Like the lead writer for Disco Elysium's not there. A lot like the lead directors aren't there anymore. I thought maybe they would try to like not. Yeah, I mean, of course, you kind of want to build off of your own success, but maybe not so much where people are reminded about why they kept hearing about your game or about you outside of the success of your game, because it's a smaller title. It's a very different kind of RPG that they make, and so it doesn't really have a huge player base. So if anyone's heard about this game, there's a high chance they've also heard about how, or at least heard a version of the events that occurred there. And there are a lot of people, I think, that are just not, or are going to just say, nah, I'm not playing this, because the people who made the first game that I loved aren't there. What are your thoughts on it?
No, I think that is a very good way of looking at it, because in general, like, how long was that first game?
Oh man, I'll say probably anywhere between 25 to 30 hours. It took me to beat it, and I got the true ending. So, well, I achieved the true ending. You can get an ending that's not great, and my first time playing it, I got an ending that was not great.
You said, this ending is, I gotta redo this.
And I was just like, hey, wait, hold up. Don't do me like that. I was like, nah. I felt some kind of way with that ending. Like I felt really like disrespected, but not in the way like the devs disrespected me, but like in the sense that like it was my own fault for the choices I had made. And then and the fulfillment I got from finding out who the real killer is, because there's a way that you can end the game thinking the wrong person committed the murder that you're investigating.
Yeah.
And just go on about your day and not realize who the true killer is, and how all the other little subplots and side quests all tie into how it occurred, who did it, why they did it, XYZ. And it's a really, really well made and well written RPG. And I have a hard time believing that the current studio, I'm not saying they can't, I have a hard time believing the current studio are capable of delivering on that, on living up to the same level of expectations.
Right. Nope,
but
I hear you on that.
All right, let me move on to the next one. They showed, there was a gameplay overview of Final Fantasy Tactics. This is coming out. There's so many games, good grief. I forgot So FF Tactics, which is one of my favorite RPGs from back in the day, they did a little gameplay overview, kind of explaining to people how what they did that was different compared to the previous games, and some of the like quality of life that they've done. This one has full voice acting for everyone, whereas the previous game, of course, didn't. I mean, that game came out like in late 90s, mid 90s, I think. I can't remember. I'll have to double check when Tactics came out. I know I played it on the original PlayStation, so it had to be late 90s then, because that was 97, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so not it came out in 97, but like the original PlayStation came out in 97, right? Damn it, no, I'm gonna have to look this up. I'm getting old. It came out, I was right. My memory is fantastic. June in 1997. So yeah, like it's been a while. So of course, you know, they could barely put cutscenes in games back then on CDs. So you weren't getting full voice acting for everything. You weren't getting any voice acting, period. So them adding voice acting to this one is good. I'm definitely getting this one. What are you doing? What do you think about FF Tactics?
As soon as I saw it, I love Tactics, and it's like the traditional way of playing Final Fantasy, and I've always been a fan of that art style. That's why I kind of like always lean towards like Bravely Default. That's why that was one of the first Switch games I bought. It's the closest thing you'll get to like the Final Fantasy universe and everything. It's also why I like Octopath Traveler, because I just like that aesthetic a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm definitely going to pick it up just because of that.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I would have loved. So you know how like this is very similar. It's the same game design. It's a strategy RPG. It's very much like Fire Emblem, which I love
Yeah.
playing, right? But like I also played Dark Deity 2 earlier this year, and they all do this thing in current strategy RPGs where you're assembling your teams, your parties all across the battlefield, and then you have someone attack another person. What typically happens now in current day strategy RPGs is that it goes into like a different view. And with Fire Emblem, you see a very cool like animation of the engagement, the character attacking the other character, a counter attack happening, whether they miss or not, and you see some cool animations. You see that in Fire Emblem Three Houses and Engage. In Dark Deity 2, it's a little not as, the presentation isn't as great, but you do see some cool, dope stuff, right? In Tactics, back in the day, it was just like, you know, and they got the thing where if they're still alive, they're just kind of walking in place. Like they're just walking in place, like they're on the treadmill. And when you do a basic attack, it's just like they just pull their sword out and they just go ha, and that's it. And I would love to see it kind of like when I attack another enemy, it go into a different screen, and then they actually have something that's a little bit more robust looking, a little bit flashier happen. Right. That's my one thing I wish they could have added in throughout all this, and I would have been like, yo, this is the most perfect remake of Tactics possible, but they didn't do that, so my bad. I just wanted to say that real quick. Go ahead.
No. Yeah. I agree. I think in general, it's definitely something I was looking forward to. Definitely gonna be something. Now you gonna pick it up on PC or you gonna pick it up on console?
I'm gonna pick it up on PC because I can play it on my Steam Deck OLED too. I'm probably gonna play it on. So I was gonna buy it on Steam, and then I'm most likely not gonna play it on my PC at all, my desktop PC. I'll play it on Steam Deck.
And that's why I'm buying it on Switch for the same reason.
Understood. Makes sense.
Yep,
makes a lot of sense.
Yep, buying it on Switch, and that's where it's gonna be at. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Crimson Desert gets a release date. It got delayed out of this year, but didn't have a release date. It now has one that's March 19th, 2026. They showed another trailer. Every time they show Crimson Desert, it looks fire. Crimson Desert. What's up, Capcom? Crimson Desert is what Capcom wanted Dragon's Dogma 2 to be. That game looks great. Dragon's Dogma 2, didn't quite land the plane there. But yeah, Crimson Desert is going to be fire. Shout out to Pearl Abyss. I think they got a game that's definitely going to be pretty good when it comes out. Be prepared, because I'm fairly certain, based upon Pearl Abyss's history, it's gonna burn your PC. Okay, your RAM is gonna melt on top of your GPU. Okay, so just be prepared to buy a whole new RAM kit. Okay? I did.
We warned you. We warned you.
What else? Oh, this irked the hell. I knew what it was when I saw this trash slow motion gameplay. We had an announcement trailer for Code Vein 2. This is, I think, Code Vein, the first one. If it wasn't for the Gooner character designs, every woman in the game had like double D's. If it wasn't for that and the anime look of it, that game would not have a sequel today. Because I think the only reason why people play that game is for the character models. Because that game sucks. Capital S sucks. The combat, look, I am all for Souls, and Souls likes. The combat in Code Vein, I feel like every time I swing any weapon, it doesn't even have to be like a heavy weapon that's supposed to swing slowly. It could be everything is just in molasses, dodging in molasses. I'm like, it's just like, are you just trying to be like clunky and clumsy on purpose to kind of like simulate difficulty based upon how bad it plays? I guess whatever. Look, it's coming out in January. If you're into trash Souls likes, there you go. With your thoughts.
If you into trash Souls, what are we doing? SloMo, man, you gotta scale it
Yo,
back.
I hate that game. No, I hate that
Scale it
game.
back a little bit, bro.
Look,
Little.
they showed me nothing that told me it's going to be any different than the first one. I hate Code Vein. I hate it.
I never played it, and I didn't hear too many good things about it, so I wasn't really. It's not something that was even on my radar. When I saw it, I like turned away, and it's like, oh, I don't even care what that was. Oh, it was Code Vein. Not even going back to look. So you already know that's how I feel too.
Well, if that was slanderous, I'm about to go another route, another one. What is up? I'm sorry. So if you're a God of War fan, you should be really pissed off right now. So Sony decides to celebrate the 20th anniversary of God of War by having a DualSense controller that is the least amount of effort I've ever seen out of any controller that is designed for a specific IP. Forte, have you seen this controller? Did I lose you again? Okay, fix your mic, Forte, if you can't get that. Let me try to find where in the footage is this terrible controller.
I'm hitting there holding my breath because I saw that freaking controller. I'm sorry,
bro. I'm showing it now. I'm showing.
I saw that controller and I was like, "What is this lazy excuse of?"
Yo, I was shocked that they put that. Who designed that? Matter of fact, it's too much to say someone designed it. They took a white DualSense.
It slapped and white paint on it, red paint on it.
Slapped red paint down the buttons on the right side and said, voila, we got it.
We got it.
And I understand that red is supposed to signify, like, Kratos' face over his left eye. But that's dumb. That's a terrible design.
And they're charging you $10 more for that red stripe.
For that, you should be charging less
on a white pearl controller.
How much does a DualSense cost these days? What, $70?
$74.99 for the base one.
Right. Look, now its haptic feedback is unique and fantastic, but the thumbsticks suck, and it shouldn't cost that much. But whatever, right?
But whatever.
This controller should be like $10 cheaper than what the regular DualSense is. Because what did you just put red paint? I'm ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. They also showed what I thought was pretty cool. Some Pulse wireless speakers that were clearly marketed to the PC audience because they had them on a gaming desktop. Even though they put a PlayStation up there, look, there's a keyboard and a monitor right in front of you. One of their end zone monitors and a PC tower right there. They marketed that thing to the PC audience, but regardless, I thought that was pretty cool. It has a little dongle that you would connect into the PlayStation or the PC for that. I might actually jump on that because I thought that was actually, if it's high quality, I want to look at reviews first. But if it's as quality sound as you get from like my Sony InZone earbuds, which are fantastic, if it's on that level, yeah, I'm gonna have to jump on that. I think. What do you think?
No, I thought that was really cool, and the fact that they're wireless kind of made me even more interested because right now I have some Logitech I think they're the Logitech G70s or G50, whatever. Let me see what they are. I want to see. These are Logitech G560s. They're really good because with the subwoofer and everything, so it sounds really good. But you have to I don't even have the subwoofer up because family. But
right. Which is also kind of like being we're both married men with kids and families. Like we both play our games at like late at night sometimes to kind of avoid like I play at time I work from home, so like I'm playing while working. Back when I was younger, it probably would have been a done deal more likely. But now it's more of like, when can I actually turn this on and have the game sound blaring out of these things crazy, sir. Because I'm gonna text this to my PC, you know.
Yep.
But it's like now that I think about it, I'm like,
my wife might kill me.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm right. So like right now, I'm probably going to play Borderlands 4 when the podcast is over. But by the time this podcast is over, everyone's already asleep. Now, I have a nice size house. It's not humongous, but it's a nice size house. I have at times forgotten the time and had watched a movie before going to bed, and it's like action, guns shooting, bow, 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 bow everywhere.
Your wife called you?
And my wife hit me.
Yep.
What are you doing?
She said, "Turn that down." I'm like, "Oh, sorry."
I'm like, okay, my bad. I mean, like you're literally 2 levels up, and you can still hear this. My bad. I didn't realize it was that loud. So I know with these speakers, I definitely can only use these when the kids are at school, the wife's at work, and I'm here on my own. It's the only time I can use these things, which might still end up being a cop. I guess it depends on, because I didn't see a price, so I need to see how much they're going to charge for this, and if it's worth it for a additive accessory experience. I need y'all, because I need people to understand that when they think about their little Xbox Allies. Additive experience. If this thing is $500, I'm gonna go find a Pulse speaker and throw it at a Sony employee, because I'm not spending that money. But if it's like, if it's like $250, something like that, $300, okay, we can talk. We can talk.
He said that was funny. He's like, I'm gonna throw it at him.
You hit somebody directly in the forehead with that thing. And I hope it hurt.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Let's get into what we're seeing right now on the Jumbotron. Insomniac's Wolverine. Now, we were, made privy of this weeks ago. The rumors were out. Hey, look, it looks like Sony's going to have a state of play at the end of the month. They're going to show off the Insomniac Wolverine game. And we talked about a couple things that we wanted to see. We wanted to see Wolverine fighting like Wolverine, acting like Wolverine, not acting like Spider-Man. We didn't want to see him, like straddling, wires and pipes, crossing rooftops and stuff. We wanted to see him grounded and ripping people to shreds. We wanted to see that brutality. And bruh, they brought the brutality. I thought they definitely brought it. It looks like it's going to feel like a Wolverine game. Before I let you go, that's it. I kind of felt like visually, I wasn't all that impressed with it visually, but it's coming out next year. So they have some time visually to step that up. I know I said that about Spider-Man 2, and Spider-Man 2 really didn't step it up visually from what they showed in like the summer of the year it came out to when it eventually came out. And that is Insomniac as well. So this is using their proprietary game engine, but I'm hoping that what we're seeing visually isn't the end all be all on it. What are your thoughts, man?
Look, I saw the game and I was like, okay, this is not what I didn't think it was going to be. I was like hoping that this is what it was going to be. Once again, same as you, I don't think it was like, I was expecting more, but I was expecting a little bit more. But I also am not a prisoner to the fact that the game still looks really good.
Yeah.
But
Matt said that uppercut with the claws
through his jawbone, bro. That's
classic Wolverine in the comics. That's classic.
Bro, when he was on the rope and rappelled to the little canister, like the side of the canister, like the truck canister that was like floating, and then he kicked the dude off of it and they landed in the lava. I was like, yo, this is it. This is it. I was like, yo, this is it right here. So I think I ain't gonna lie, because I really like it, and I want to say this. This is why leaked footage, they don't want people seeing it, because everybody was questioning the direction of this game because of what they saw 2 years ago. Like just the way it looked, well, not so much the way it looked, because everybody knows that that's pre-production and they're still working on the looks, but the way it was moving, like we were all looking at like, man, it looks like it's like more like Spider-Man than anything else. But that probably was just,
and you never know what gets cut. Like a lot of that stuff could have just got cut.
But also, but also they're working probably within the same engine that they're doing Spider-Man in. So
it is the same engine. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's the same engine. So what they're probably saying is, okay, let's get the gameplay down. And they probably used like, it was probably easier to like say, we'll use the animation systems that they have in place for the Spider-Man systems. That's why it kind of looked like it was moving like that, in the way like he was standing on like ropes and stuff and bending down. And I was like, no, that's Spider-Man. But they were probably using that to like kind of quickly get through production of the game. And then once they finalized the story and all the cinematics, that's when they went in and probably redid all the animations and everything, and gave him his own flair and his own walk, because what I saw was completely different from what we saw 2 years ago in that leaked footage. So
yeah,
kudos to them. Like I said, the game itself, I was probably, and I think it's just because I'm so used to when Sony makes like one of these bigger games, it like blowing me away even visually. I think I was kind of hyping myself up more when I saw that this was coming, but I will not say this game is not a good looking game, because for what you see,
I'm not saying it's ugly. It's not an ugly looking game. I visually, I wanted more. Yeah,
you're expecting more.
And I still think I probably will get more. I feel like they're not done optimizing the way it's going to look.
But guess what? Even if you don't get more, the game looks good how it is, and on top of that, the game.
Oh, it's a cop day one.
The game.
It's a cop day one, regardless.
Because that's all we cared about in the Wolverine game. Not saying it could look like ASS. It had to look at least visually, appealing. But the gameplay, I was like, yo, this is wild what I was watching.
Yeah.
So
this is not Fox Saturday morning cartoon Wolverine. This is X-rated, rated R Wolverine, and I'm here for it. This is what I wanted from the character. Like, this is a day one cop for me.
What did they say? It said 2026 when?
It just said 2026. They didn't give a.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but more than likely it's gonna be later in the year next year, I think. It may end up because I'm fairly confident. Not saying I heard anything. I just think that GTA 6 is going to get delayed again. Not out of 2026, but to like later in 2026. But they just gave early 2026 as a way to kind of like keep people hyped for GTA. I feel like
wild.
I know.
You see they showed it in slow motion.
I think they will delay it to later, the 2026, and so Sony may have to have. I think this kind of game, though, Wolverine being as popular as he is, and it being Marvel, it may be able to keep its release date and not have to worry too much about GTA 6. But I think they're going to be later in the year instead of earlier in the year for this one. Can't wait to play it, man. It was, I think, the best thing. There were two things that I really liked about this state of play. 2.5, because I liked the post speakers.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah.
Saros looked good, and Wolverine looked good, and that was the beginning. In the end, everything else was something I had already seen and was already going to get, or something I didn't care to see. And that's just me. What were your thoughts on the show overall?
No, yeah, I think the show was good. I was kind of faltering a little bit in the middle. Like I think it's the thing is they started strong and they ended stronger. Like Soros was a really good way to start the show, and
Oh,
then
okay. Correction. Miko said it said fall 2026. Okay, so we're good.
I
We're
thought
good on
okay,
that.
yeah, I knew it said
I think they'll
2026.
hit
Just didn't
that.
know it was a window. Yeah, so it's fall 2020.
Yeah,
They'll hit that,
and they'll hit that. I think they'll hit that with no problem.
and it probably will be the beginning of fall too, meaning like September instead of like late October. But
Yeah, and Insomniac is really they've been the most consistent developer. They are really good with deadlines. So I think that I have every confidence they'll nail that.
yeah, I think like I said, they started the show strong, they finished stronger. Couple of like little lows in the middle for things that I don't care about, but this is what took so long. That's what you know what that's what I'll grade this. I'll grade this what took so long. What took so long because we've been looking forward to this for a long time. And there's still stuff out there that they're still not talking about. And granted, everybody's going to forget that Sony really ain't talked about none of the stuff that's coming out with a lot of their studios in the near future, but they have their little timetable that they're working on, and that's perfectly fine as long as the games come and they delight us the way they're supposed to. That's all that matters. But that's how I will grade this show. What took so long? Because this is what the PlayStation fan has been wanting to see for a while, and Wolverine is just icing on a cake. Literally, like this show could be nothing less than a B, just because they showed that. I would give it at least. I will actually give the show an A, just because I think Soros was way better than I thought it was going to be. Because I feel like they leveled up as a studio when it came to what Returnal was to what this is. They like fidelity wise,
You really like the abilities,
dude. The abilities, like the first thing I thought about in the abilities was they're giving me a shield, but that means this game's gonna be harder. Like the fact, like people don't understand, and in my mind, being a person that played a game like that, in my mind, that excites me because I don't know what it could be. It's like more of the mystery. Because like them literally showing a shield and and most of all the combat with you absorbing damage and stuff and ditching and dodging in and out of combat is really, really cool. And it's eye appealing. It looks great. But when I saw that, I was like, yo, this game's gonna be stupid hard if they're giving you a shield. It's gonna be so stupid hard, and I'm looking forward to that. And I know there's a lot of people that like games like that. When they see something like that, they're like, "Yo, this is gonna be it." So I like the level up that Housemarque did on that. And then Wolverine, I'm just happy that we're getting a proper Wolverine game, visceral to the core, and everything else is kind of a blur that happened at that show at this point. Those are the two things that stood out. So I give it an A just because I feel like they started strong and they finished stronger.
I would say I feel like people are coming around to what I've been saying for years now, which is that PlayStation is no longer doing showcases.
No, they're not. They're done.
They're just going to do state of plays. They're just going to do state of plays. The things that they would show in the showcase, they show at a state of play now, and they show it when it's ready. They don't basically stockpile everything from all their studios all together and put it all in one showcase, and then put studios on the deadline to make sure their stuff is ready for their showcase. Nah, it's ready when it's ready. We'll show it when it's ready to show, and this is what we're getting. We're getting Housemarque and Insomniac showing it when it was ready to show.
Right.
And so what that means is that, sometimes you'll get a state of play, just nothing but third party stuff. And then sometimes you get a state of play where, they show off a first party game at the end. Or in this case, a first party game in the beginning and a first party game in the end. And so that this did make this state of play better than the norm. I still think before Wolverine, it was just okay. It wasn't like fantastic, groundbreaking or whatever. but finally getting Wolverine and Wolverine not being a disappointment, that is, you know, I gotta admit, PlayStation just been disappointing the brother for a while now.
Yeah.
With the games that they have shown, with the releases of games, with them not listening to the community when they say, yo, what you showed with Concord, we don't want that. And even though I played it and I bought it and I enjoyed playing it, they should have listened to the community when they showed that the first time and people was like, what is this?
Yeah.
I don't want to play that. They didn't listen, and guess what happened? The majority of the people didn't play it.
True.
And so they've been kind of missing on their releases, and I feel like they needed this win. They needed to have 2 of their games show well. And it looks like it's going to be a strong 2026 for them, because I think they could use it. And maybe that might mitigate the fact that I think that Fair Games will be canceled, and I think Fair Games will be eventually announced as a cancellation, and that they're going to probably release Marathon regardless, and Marathon will bomb. But like, you know, this will mitigate these games will mitigate those issues. But
I agree.
Forte,
what's up?
Let the fine people know where they can find you, what you got going on.
Gaming Forte,
future,
YouTube,
sir.
Twitter, Xbox Live, PlayStation, all of those great places. Can't wait to come back here and talk about all this stuff again next week for you, with you guys. Borderlands, we'll be doing gameplay. I probably would stream that. You know what? No. I am off Wednesday this week. So Slomo, how about we do another Death Stranding stream Wednesday?
Oh, that works.
Let's do another, give you a chance to make another thumbnail.
Oh yeah, man, I can't wait. I'm excited.
Yeah, let's do.
I'm excited to make the thumbnail.
let's do another. We'll do our first stream of Death Stranding outside of the tutorial area.
Right.
We'll do that on Wednesday this week.
I want to see because like I've heard so many people who play Death Stranding, and not just the Kojima glizzy guzzlers, but like other people who have played through and completed the game that said that, like, you know, later on in the game it gets really, really good, and they now deem it a good game. I want to see that. I don't want to play it.
You just want to see.
I want to see Forte. I just want to. Yeah.
You want to see me get to the point where I was like, you know what, this game isn't as bad as I thought. It still sucked when it came to everything at the beginning, though. Yeah, definitely. We'll do that on Wednesday and have something. I just got to see what my daughter's work schedule
and don't worry, guys. I will remind Forte, because he will definitely forget.
I will
by Wednesday. That he said any of this. So I'll remind him.
Oh my God, whatever. All right, but other than that, you guys have a great weekend, and we will see you guys next week.
And as for myself, I may do. I was going to do on the SloMoBackSlap channel a build video for the Siren, but again, as I said earlier in the show, I feel like a lot of the skills are quite bugged, and that I don't want to make a build video that later on. That look when you make some of these videos, like my most successful video on my SloMoBackSlap channel is a how-to video on Borderlands 2, and I still get comments from people saying, hey, how did you do that one thing? And I'm just like, bro, it's in the freaking video. Oh my God. Like years later, like 5 years later, I'm still getting people saying that. I say all that to say, I do not want to make a build video for someone 5 years from now to be like, hey, dude, you don't do this kind of damage with this build. I don't want to hear it. So I'm a wait.
I don't want to hear it.
I'm gonna wait until I know for certain that the actual like skills and perks are solid and they're not going to change drastically. Then I'll put out a build video. But until then, I'm gonna keep grinding on Borderlands. I did a couple streams of the game, just playing through and whatnot, and doing trying to grind to max level. And I've been grinding, trying to get a particular SMG from one of the bosses that he just won't drop it for me for some stupid reason. But other than that, I'm just enjoying the game. So
nice.
See a stream from me soon, pretty soon, and of course you'll see us next week, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy if you went out and bought yourself an Xbox Ally. I hope you enjoy that. I hope it is everything that you wanted it to be. And we'll get out of here, man. Peace.
Peace.